I'd like to introduce my friend Andrea Tofanelli and ask him to talk about how he started trumpet, the struggles that he had, how he learned at different points, and the significance of different things that he did that helped him or maybe not helped him in his playing, and what kind of gigs and things that you're currently doing. So you can just have it and tell us about yourself.
Hi, Jeff. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to speak about these things that are very important when we consider the story of the for a whole life of a trumpet player. And if I have to speak about my experience, I started playing the trumpet when I was around 10 years old, because my father also was playing the village band. He was playing the E-flat bugle. And I was fascinated by the trumpet. I don't know why, because except my father playing in the village band and as an amateur, obviously, I didn't have any professional musician in my family. But that's how it started. And so I started to practice and to study trumpet. And I was lucky enough to have a couple of incredible musicians, professional musicians in my area, that they accepted to teach me music. So they immediately projected me, even if I was so young, into the professional thinking about learning music, reading music, playing music. And so when I was 14 years old, I was already playing lead in the professional big band of my area, in the Versilia area. And that was a good start, very good start. Then after 3 years, I started my conservatory studies, and immediately the first day they changed my embouchure, and from that point I had 3 years and a half of huge problems playing the trumpet, until I met Mr. Armando Ghitalla, the former principal trumpet of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And he came to Italy because he obviously, from his name, you can bet that he had Italian origins. His family, his roots were in Italy. So he came for some master classes, and he really changed my life. He fixed my embouchure, and he taught me also how to front the trumpet in every single problem or a typical side of practicing and learning the trumpet. And I mean, he saved me. He really saved me. So I will be forever grateful to him. So that's a good point to start well as a student, as a young student, then falling into a hell where you cannot understand what's going on, and you cannot have a control on your instrument. You have double vibrations on your sound, and no endurance, no more range, no more, I mean, anything. You cannot have a clean attack or technique or flexibility. Everything disappears. And then you have to rebuild everything. So if from one point, maybe there is even a small portion of talent when you start as a young student, then it's obvious that practicing and finding the right way to practice and to develop our things, it's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. So thanks to Maestro Ghitalla, I could fix my embouchure and come back into the professional field of the music in Italy, and climbing again and coming back to my place. And so I started immediately to win some auditions in classical music orchestras. And after a few months, something strange happened, because my range with the trumpet, with this new embouchure, became to improve more and more. I mean, it improved more than I expected, and I started to be able to play with Maynard. That I was a huge fan of Maynard Ferguson, so I could play his his albums, and starting to play with him. And I understood that something was really changing in my way of playing. And after a few years, I decided to, how can I say, to turn to jazz and pop music. I started my career inside the Italian TV shows, where I have been playing for 26 years, playing in more than 100 TV shows, and recording, obviously, the discography field, becoming a session man, kind of successful session man in Italy. And so I was anyway playing also classical music, but the most important part of my job became to be a lead trumpet in jazz, commercial music, TV shows, and also soloist, but more lead. Then, after a few years, now I can say that I play leads in some big, important orchestras, but mostly I'm mostly now a soloist. And anyway, it's a balance between the two things. And this is shortly my story. Then I started touring the world, so I'm always giving concerts and master classes too around the world, in every country. And my story is interesting, right because it started like a talent, then it went into a hell, and then I had to rebuild it to come back to a professional level. So it's very interesting, because sometimes when trumpet players are very talented, they can speak to students about music, obviously, but they don't really understand sometimes the technical problems, or like embouchure problems, or any other things happening inside the body, and they just speak about air, or blowing the air, or having nice ideas about music and inspirations, or speaking about the style, how to play correctly a certain style of music, a certain concerto, but I think you have to, if you fall into a hell and you rebuild, then you understand many things that can be useful for your students and useful to be a good teacher. I don't know if you agree with this.
Oh yeah, totally. I had a teacher 6 years before Claude Gordon that he never told me how to play. He was a fantastic trumpet player. He played principal trumpet of the National Symphony in Washington, D.C. for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But his lessons were basically like, just play it this way. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm trying, but I didn't know why I couldn't do it. And
yeah.
and then I struggled. And it's kind of funny you mentioned Maynard. I remember hearing him live at Disneyland out in California, and I think it was 1983. And I thought, man, everyone can play double high C's. What's wrong with me? So I got the records and I tried to play along with them. And I think I messed myself up even more. And I was so frustrated. And then I had a tooth that got in an accident that got broken off. So then my embouchure was really low. I mean, I was going to ask you like where yours. Mine was like down, like barely any top lip. And so when this tooth thing was changed, it's like I hardly had any top lip vibrating at all. And I really got frustrated, started trying different mouthpieces and horns, and nothing worked. And then it wasn't until I went to a Claude Gordon brass camp, and he said, these things work this way, and you got to do it this way. And I always thought, since I played off to the side, that was my problem. But he was like, no, you need to have more of your top lip in there. I was going to ask you what you thought about that. When I did that, all of a sudden it was like I couldn't play as high, and I was like rebuilding. But within about 6 months, I could do stuff I never could do before. So it's like and at that first couple months, I was thinking, man, maybe I made a huge mistake, and maybe I shouldn't even be playing trumpet again, because it was like it was so frustrating. But so when you went through the change, you went through hell or whatever, what did they change, and what did Ghitalla change you back to? Like, what sorts of things did you do?
I must say that my teacher was a very good teacher, but he was a trombone player. At that time in Italy, it doesn't matter if you were a trombone player or trumpet player, you could teach, because the class of trumpet and trombone were together. So it was together. The trombone teachers were teaching also to trumpet students, and vice versa. So I had a trombone teacher that was very, very good, I must say, about music, about briefing. I mean, he also studied for a period in the United States, but he was more on that school of blowing the air, don't think about the muscles, just relax, and all the school coming from the Jacobs school or Chicago. Not like they don't consider what's happening here. No, if you have a problem, you have just to think about positive things and nice ideas and follow the music and breathe well. But if you have an embouchure problem, the embouchure problem stays there, and you cannot fix it. Not just thinking. You have to do some real things, understand how to recreate the wall of vibrations, and then you can, I mean, think about positive things in music and all the rest of what we think about playing.
I agree with that. I agree with that too, because I think it's like what they're wanting is good, to where you can just not think about how it works and you just play and make music. But it's kind of like, for most people like myself or like you, it's like I need to like fix details of it. And I have a student that he wrote an article that was so good, I actually posted on my website, and he was talking about why should people take private lessons, and he was equating it to like professional athletes, like, you know, like Venus and Serena Williams, the tennis player, having a coach that would sit there and analyze different details to like fix. Or I've got a daughter that is 17, and she's aspiring to be a professional ballerina. And when I watch the classes, the people, you know, they'll call it like first position, second position, plie, demi plie, all these different French things. And then the teachers will go around and say, your turnout needs to be fixed. And then when you watch it, it's beautiful, but you know that there's all these little details that they had to work out for months and years, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So my teacher was good, but at that time there was, we are speaking about many years ago, so Italy was far away from the United States, where the trumpet school was so, I mean, the evolution of the trumpet school was so much bigger than in Italy. Italy has a very nice Italian school about the orchestral tradition, no? Very nice idea of the sound, gentle sound to play the opera music, or, you know, and many trumpet players in the United States have had Italian origins, no? So, I mean, there is a trumpet school about the sound, but it's connected mostly to the opera tradition, no? Thinking about the instrument to be like a singer in the opera, no? So this is nice. This is absolutely nice. But the problem was that I was playing upstream, and in Italy at that time, all the tradition, we are speaking about many years ago, don't forget, was that if you were an upstream, you had to play jazz, or, you know, there were no upstream classical players in the orchestra. So if you were a student and you were starting your study at the conservatory, every teacher, it doesn't matter who, every teacher were asking you to play downstream. And that was the problem, why everything started with this embouchure change. And obviously my professor, that was anyway a very smart and sensitive person, understood the mistake. So he started to send me to many trumpet professors and artists to trying to fix the problem. That's why I say that he was a good professor. He was just following what was the fashion, I can say, at that time, no, in Italy. And then obviously he also understood that, trumpet is trumpet, trombone is trombone. And I must say that he was always saying that I'm a trombone player, so remember that, you know, it's better if you get lessons from trumpet players, no? So, but it's a mixture of things about that period in Italy, where there was some confusion. Some players were starting to come to United States to study for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and coming back. But sometimes many of them didn't speak English very well, so there were some misunderstandings about what they understood from these lessons, and many things that were not working very well. And I was a victim of that period, of that mixture of strange things that were into the trumpet school in Italy in that period. But I'm glad that I got out of that period, and that I met Armando Ghitalla, that really saved my life. And then obviously during the years I've been more and more investigating about trumpet and trumpet schools, because when I started teaching, also not only performing, I wanted to be a good teacher, because I know that a teacher has the life of his students in his hands. So you can destroy a student, you can save a student, you can I can say you can enrich the life of your students. It depends how much you know about trumpet, no?
Right.
So the best the best option is obviously to make the students improving in their playing. If you don't damage them, it's anyway a victory.
Yeah.
But many times you really, if you give them the wrong points or wrong conceptions, when you want to be a professional trumpet player, this can be a problem. And I know you agree with this.
Yeah, and you're making me think of something too, because I think when you go through struggles and you kind of think more about how it works, you know how it works, and you know that there's a way to make it work for other people instead of just being luck, And when my first semester and 2 weeks into my second semester of college, I took from a guy that was super discouraging, and my roommate was taking from him, and he quit and switched to another teacher after a couple of weeks. Then I made it into the second semester, and I was still taking from Claude Gordon outside of college at this time. And this guy had it out for me because he didn't like Claude Gordon and wanted to try to prove something to me. Well, I got there early to my lesson, like I always did. And this older guy, he was probably like 4 years older than me. He was a nice guy. He played in the jazz band, probably played like fifth trumpet, and he was a senior and was okay, but he liked playing music. Well, he came out and they were shaking hands, and the teacher said, "Oh, he decided to quit." And I was like, "What do you mean? Did he switch majors or whatever?" No, he decided to quit trumpet altogether. I convinced him, and I was like, "Why? Why would you want to do that?" And he was like, "Because I convinced him that he had no place playing the trumpet and that he would never be good and he should just quit." And so I went and I told Claude Gordon about it, and Claude Gordon's like, "You need to get away from anyone that's like that. Quit, switch to someone else, because he's going to mess with your head and destroy you." And I was like, "You're right." So I quit. And then within about 2 or 3 weeks, that teacher actually quit playing trumpet himself. And because he'd had some terrible experiences and wanted to take it out on other people, and just was a bitter person after a while. But I think that, like, probably, like, I never met Armando Ghitalla, but like with Claude Gordon, I'd come away from a lesson and I really thought, man, I can do this. I'm going to go practice because I know how to do this now. This is cool. And I wanted to practice. And I'm curious what you think about this. I've heard people say this sort of thing where they hear someone that plays great and they'll say, "Oh, I just want to quit playing the trumpet." That's, for me, when I hear someone play great, I'm like, "Man, I want to go practice." Because if I heard Maynard, I'm like, "I want to do that." That's like cool, And I think that, and then knowing how to do it is like part of it too. But it's like, I think probably like you and me, it's like I heard trumpet when I was little and I knew I had to play it. There's like no one told me to do it. It's just I wanted to, and no one was going to stop me from doing it.
Yeah, I know.
So I know a question I was going to ask. So in Italy, I do many people there use the Gotti book? Do you know the Gotti method book? It was from Dominic Gotti.
Can you spell the name?
Gatti.
Gatti. Yeah, Gatti. Gatti has been the first important trumpet player in Italy, and writing a book about how to practice trumpet, not cornet. So historically, he was the first one. He was from Sicily, and he started teaching at the conservatory in Naples, and he started to write his trumpet book there, trumpet method there. And he was the very first one in Italy speaking about a trumpet method and not cornet method. But the edition the edition who was going to release his trumpet method didn't accept that was a trumpet method, because the best seller was the obviously the urban, and so they convinced him, they forced him to change the name of the method in cornet, and I don't know how to translate, but all the instruments, all the brass instruments like trumpet, cornet, or trombone, or
Yeah, like
bugle,
this one. This is
we
an
say,
older Carl Fischer one. It says trumpet and cornet.
yeah.
But
uh,
there's another one that's published in Italy by Ricordi that has, it's in 3 volumes, and it's,
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
and there is also a fourth volume, that is not easy to find.
Does that have the, I wonder if it's got the etudes that are like studies in perfection.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, I've got
exactly.
that one.
Yeah, and so historically that was a, I can say, so that was something new that was blocked because of the edition, and he had also to cut some interesting things from his book, where he was speaking about practicing with the mouthpiece, how to set the mouthpiece inside the the mouthpiece, and some other things that were very interesting and very, I can say, he was the first in Italy speaking about these things. It was too new and so too innovative. So the edition cut everything. So you can find the original, very original method in the Conservatory of Naples. There is the original version, and it's nice to see it, because you can understand how sometimes the market change some good intuitions in just things to sell, and but you are creating something new, and you are stopped because no, the marketing is that you sell if you speak about this, if you speak about cornet, not trumpet, and all these things. And it was interesting. Also, the concept of the trumpet was very interesting on how the trumpet works. So yeah, Gatti now is almost, it's used only, I cannot say, the Italian system about the education, the conservatories has been changing in these last 10 years. Before, it was very different from United States. Now it's exactly like it is in the United States. So we are speaking about really different ways to approach the trumpet, but not the trumpet, the music, totally, for every instrument. So Gatti was very, very, I can say, it was very popular in the past. Now it is less popular. I must say that obviously the internet, the web, changed many things, because now there are so many methods, trumpet books coming on the market. Sometimes they are good, sometimes they are nothing new. Sometimes they are really unuseful. So it depends. It's just something, it depends how these books are made, if they are interesting or not, if they speak about things that are already well known, or I don't want to speak about this. But Gatti right now, like Peretti, also the Peretti book, also they are no more so. They were more popular in the past. Now, so and so, especially Gatti, so and so.
Yeah, here in the United States, I grew up in a town called Bakersfield, which is north of Los Angeles, about 100 miles. And I remember going into the local music store there and being able to buy all the Charles Colin books, Ernest Williams, Gotti, St. Jacome, and of course Arbin, but and all the Clark books and stuff like that. Now, when I go into a music store, whether it's here locally or in a bigger city like Atlanta or Charlotte, it's like you won't. The Gotti book has been out of print for maybe like 15 or 20 years with the Carl Fisher edition. Hardly any people that I talk to really have completely gone through the St. Jacome book. It's like when I first moved to this area, maybe like 20 years ago or so, I remember this one guy saying, "Oh, you use the St. Jacome book, but he didn't assign it to his students." And I was like, "Well, it's a great book, and you know it's a great book. Why don't you tell people to work out of it?" Because but I think a lot of these books are big, and people don't have a plan of how to like work through them. But Gotti was one of my favorite books when I was doing it towards the end of high school when I was studying with Claude Gordon, and then into the first couple years. And the duets and the etudes that are in it are really fun. They're like cornet solos for two people. It's a great book. But I didn't know about the original edition. I would love to track that down and read I'm sure it's in Italian, so I'd have to have someone translate it.
Yeah, it's in Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. There are very innovative things considering the time when that book was written. So, that's the history of music. Sometimes when marketing is a good thing. I am not against the marketing, but sometimes when marketing is not well aligned with the concept of giving informations, good informations to the students, really good informations, and it's just something to sell. So I don't agree with this. Well, anyway, we are speaking about trumpet is music. Music is culture. So it's anyway something that is connected to knowing things and developing our sensitivity, our sense of beauty, and
Yeah.
it's and anything that can help is very welcome. Also trumpet book, it
Right.
helps.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this before, and I know like with the Claude Gordon stuff, and I know you said that you played out of some of the books when you were younger. Like, what did you do with that? And of course, I'm sure you've used Clark's technical studies.
Yeah,
Clark's
absolutely.
books. I think sometimes, it's like Clark and Arbin and all of that are like used pretty much by everyone in the world. So maybe you can talk about some of that.
I've been practicing on every book that for every trumpet students of my age. I'm 58 today. It's 2023, and I am 58. So all the trumpet players of my generation in Italy, they practice and they build up their playing with the books I told you, with all the books you listed, and plus Peretti and Gatti, obviously, and Coprash, that was very famous in Italy, also the Coprash, and Fuss also, these two German books.
What's the Us?
Fuss, Fuss, Fuss. There, it was a book that was, some of the studies were into the examinations in the conservatory. So not in the final, but in the intermediate or examination, there were some studies from the Fuss book. And it's interesting because for some points, the Fuss the Fuss book was more difficult than the studies taken from the Fuss book were for some points more difficult than the final studies. So it was interesting because if you could passed the examination, you were sure that you could have be good also at the final examination, because the fourth, if you consider the level of a trumpet player when he's a student and he's at that time at the fourth year or at the sixth year, that was how we studied music in the conservatory. It was so more difficult that examination at the fourth year than the one at the sixth year, the final. So that was interesting. I don't know why they made this, but this, I've been working like this for decades, no? Because it changed only a few years ago, 10 years ago, everything changed. Otherwise, there was still the old system, no? With these studies and these.
So in Italy, do they have a system like we were talking a little bit earlier about, like in the UK, a couple of my students are there where they have it, it's like all broken down in levels where you go through like a plan of solos,
you were
different things. Is it set up that way in Italy?
Yeah, there were, at the beginning you had 1 or 2 years of trial. So you were just trying to start. If you were good, you could go directly to the first or the second or the third year. It was 6 years. Playing the trumpet was 6, studying the trumpet in the conservatory was 6 years. Violin was, how many years? I can't remember. Piano was 10 years. And oboe was 6 years, and I mean French horn was 6 years. Violin was more. I cannot remember. Probably maybe 10 years. Violin probably, like also contrabass, the double bass, or cello, viola. But trumpet was a shorter period, and so you had 2 years that you could use for the professor to if the guy was not starting from zero, the professor could take these 2 years of to set the student. Otherwise, I mean, most part of the trumpet students were coming from the wind orchestras, no? So the village bands. So they were always able to play. So usually when you are starting from the first normal year, and you have the first examination on the fourth year and the final examination on the sixth year. But the problem was not the number of years, no? Because now, I mean, the academical level is made of 3 years plus 2, so it's 5 years. But then you have the high school, musical high school, where you start playing the trumpet, and also the middle school, where you can take the musical the musical way, no? So the problem were that the studies were not really complete, no? You could practice some things, staccato, tonguing. There were nothing about practicing the flexibility, for example. There were nothing speaking about high range, or it was most part of the things we were practicing, and all the studies were mostly on staccato, tonguing, a few lyrical things that sounds like opera arias, taken from Gatti, Peretti, and something from the French tradition, ballet, for example, or other methods. And these Coprash books and these Fus books that were preeminently, they were technical. I mean, just studies on tonguing, on technical things. And so the French, and yeah.
Were there, like, when in your experience, then and now? Are there that many people that are familiar with flexibility books like Cohen's Advanced Flexibilities or Irons or Walter Smith or Dale
Yeah.
Stagers? Or do people use that? Because from my experience in the United States, I've gone to some of these, different trumpet events, and I listen to people talk, and I'll say, hey, what do you practice? And they'll
Yeah.
talk about long tones and buzzing. And I'm like, do you practice flexibility studies like this? And very few people say that they really work through that. They might say Schlossberg, but they don't mention like Cohen, Iron, Smith, all these
Mhm.
great books like that where you're moving around the horn. Is it that way where you are, or what's it like then
Well,
and
well,
now?
the first books coming from especially from the people that started studying in the United States, the first books, except Arban, Gatti, Peretti, Koprash, and Fus, except these five books, the at that time new books were Colleen and Clark, and Claude Gordon was also famous for a while because it was a very fresh, no, fresh intuitions, and he was speaking about technical things like Arban book, but in a different way. So it was very successful for many years in Italy. I must say that I don't know why I speak about Claude Gordon, and I really advise to my students to practice the book about all the exercises, but many other teachers, they don't do it in Italy, and some of them, even if they are fantastic players, they don't know who Claude Gordon is, and that's funny because it means they come from I don't know, another way of practicing. I must say that I have to come back to the thing I told at the beginning when we were speaking. When many of these players are following that school of just think the music, just think about positive things, all the school coming from the tuba players more than trumpet players, and so some of them, they really don't know the whole literature about the trumpet books, so they are missing something. Maybe they read things for tuba players or trombone players and not for trumpet players. So that's a very strange things that has been happening these last years in Italy. But I'm sure it will change because then, trumpet is trumpet, trombone is trombone, tuba is tuba, French horn is French horn. So that's what I think. No, so I think that the problem is, I think you agree with me, to keep the memory alive. No, I mean, thinking and trying to speaking to students that there is also a trumpet school, very good trumpet school coming from the past that is still good today and can really build up your way of playing very good. And I must say that Claude Gordon is one of the big names of the trumpet, in the tradition of the trumpet. So Claude Gordon is a very good point to tell to students and to become strong with the trumpet.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think I've I have a student that wants to write an article for ITG about some of the misunderstandings about Claude Gordon, and he's taken from me for now on his 8th year, and he was the guy who was mentioning that went through the UK, British, the music program that's there, and he served in the military and all that and played in the military bands. But I think a lot of times people hear some wrong information about something and think, oh, that's just a book about this, or that's just a book about this, and they haven't really gone through it. Like and you can't, like, for example, you can't get through the Gotti book in like a month. It'll take like a couple years if you take your time through it, you know. But it's like the information that's in it is basically the life experience of the guy that wrote the book. So it's like I want to like learn what he thought, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean that's I think using these books, like you're saying, is I see some new books that come out and I'm like, well, that book is really not that new because it's a piece of Arb and a piece of Saint Jacome, a piece. Why not just get Saint Jacome, get Gotti, and get Arbin and go through them instead of just take little pieces out of it, you know?
It is not a waste of time. It's getting information, good information
Right.
for practicing and learning the trumpet, how to play well the trumpet. Yeah.
Yeah. So in are the Clark Gordon books still prevalent in the music stores? Can you find them? No.
No, no, no.
Which,
No.
like, if you were to go into a music store, which books are in the stores that you think are there?
Well,
Have you ever seen
I
Saint Jacome?
I must say I have the book somewhere
Yeah.
in my library. I have the Claude Gordon and the Saint-Jacome. I have both. I should search, but I have everything in my library. And obviously today is different. When I search something, I go on the web and I buy in PDF because it's with the computer or the iPad or tablet anyway. You can have everything inside, and you don't have to take with you,
Yeah,
tons
I do that too.
and you save paper also, and
Yeah.
you save forests, and all the that, at this moment I buy more online than into the shops, but it's not something. It's just practical because I have my computer
Oh yeah.
or my tablet and everything is inside there.
I
And
I do the same thing. I have a big file cabinet over here that has like a whole bunch of books in it. And years ago when I was starting teaching online, like I started doing that in 2004, I started scanning things. Some of it I sent it to professional companies to scan it. Some of it I did one page at a time. I think I'm up to like maybe 70,000 pages. So that took
wow.
a really long time. So now if a book comes out and it's like in a PDF, I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy that because I don't want to have to scan this. And like you're saying, like if I like the PDFs because like we're talking on my laptop and if like during the COVID stuff, I take my trumpet and my laptop and go to the beach and I could teach all my lessons from down on the coast. And
Yeah.
all I had was just my trumpet, my laptop, and I had to have the internet and I was good. I could go anyplace. So I like being portable.
Yeah.
So we were talking too a little bit. So like with playing high notes, I know there's like the way people explain a little bit different. Maybe you can explain. We were talking about the letter or the syllable E versus C, more like that. So when you go up to
Oh, sorry,
we
I
were
was forgetting. The other books that came on the scene in Italy, I told you about those 5 books. Then, obviously, there was some trumpet players came to United States and they brought the Colin book, the Clark book, the James Stamp book also. And some other students went to France because there was a famous teacher that was Pierre Thibault in
yeah.
France, in Paris. And they discovered they brought to Italy also the French methods, like Charlier or like Zenon, ballet, or This is interesting because also about Urban, the Urban book didn't have inside the I don't know, for example, the modern style
The
studies,
melody, the 150 melodies.
yeah, exactly. Or the style studies. So we discover all these things, kind of, can I say, if we speak about, 40, 45 years ago, but it's not so much if you think, no? Maybe also 50 years ago, but it's not so much if you think about the long history of the trumpet, no? That should have been built in Europe, no? Because
Right.
in Europe, we have an incredible tradition, no? Coming from Bach, from, the second Brandenburgish concert, no? So, for example, no, or Mozart or Gabrieli or the Europe should have more. I think, considering the centuries of history, I think Europe should have should have given more books than what we really had. No, if you consider the history of United States about music, about trumpet, there are more important methods in 100 years of American history than in 4 centuries of European history. If you consider how long is the history of Europe about music, and you consider how long is the history also as a country of United States, there are so many more methods in the United States that are very well known around the world than in what is in Europe. I don't know if I can explain well this,
No,
or
that
you
makes
understand.
sense. That makes sense. It kind of baffles my mind too, how like the Saint Jacome book that at one time was very well known. It was like basically a compliment to Arbin. It's different than Arbin. I think that it's just as important as Arbin, but how it could kind of go out of use, and not be
Yeah.
talked about, and there, this student of mine from the UK, he did a kind of a companion book to go along with Saint Jacome, and he tracked down a lot of history about it. And kind of the way I'd summarize it, it's like Arbin was the conservatory academic teacher, and Saint Jacome was more of the gigging musician that was playing like operas and ballets and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they were both equally great musicians, but just different in their focus, and I think Saint Jacome is not organized in categories like Arbin, so that's some of the reason why people don't know how to use
Exactly.
it, but the information is great that's in those books. Like I think there's things in Saint Jacome that are way more difficult to play than in the Arbin book.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There's I remember this, like Claude Gordon would have people come in and say, "Oh, I'm getting a smaller, shallower mouthpiece so that I have more endurance." And I mean, he told me one time, he said, "Yeah, he's flipped to like one of the etudes at the back of the Saint Jacome book that's like 6 pages with no rest." And he said, "Let me hear you play that." And they were gone within like one page. It's like it's like those etudes in the back of the Saint Jacome book are really long and lots, like you don't get a break.
Very nice.
so
So,
so I was like in our little text back and forth. So maybe you can explain like how you'd explain it, like or like C versus E, because when we were kind of going back and forth, I think that what you said about the S sort of that versus like E is more, I mean, that's essentially what I think is right too. I wouldn't think E the same way as so it's like how it's forming the front part of the tongue when you're playing high. Like how would you explain that?
Yeah, it depends also what genres of music I'm playing. If I play big band stuff or Maynard Ferguson repertory, I need sound, more power. So I use more an S concept. That is a full compression. Can be, I saw that with my students that can be, it depends on, every one of us has a different face, different mouth, also internal. There are players who have more space between the line of the teeth, who has less space. It depends. We have different mouths and different tongues also. I have for me myself, I have a big tongue. It's like an ox. So I have very often I bite. Also speaking, and I speak to, I don't know, to someone. Oh my god! And it's so painful because it's very. It's a very, can I say, fat tongue, big tongue, no?
Yeah.
And so for sure I use it in a different way than someone else that has a smaller or thinner tongue, or shorter or longer, it depends. Anyway, for me it's S. For other players is Ghitalla was telling me that is another sound. It's not but it was a different another sound. But probably it was working for him in that way. For me, it works more with a pure S. If I have to play in the extreme range, obviously the E. I use the E for the lip trills. I use the E when I have to play high on pianissimo, if it's something classical or something that I have to play very on pianissimo. So the E helps a lot because it gives a lot of control. I don't use the E when I play big band style, because I am not, with the E, I am not able to create full sound. It's like my air never explodes into the trumpet, because the E is higher than S. C, it's really high, and the air for me is not enough to open the sound to play, I don't know, MacArthur Park or whatever, or any thing that I want to play with real big sound. For me, for the shape of my internal mouth, or for the internal shape of my mouth and my face, how I am built,
Yeah.
the S is better for me.
I wonder what you think about this, because I hear some people, I might have not, by asking the question, might have not made it as clear. I think some people think that the high notes are just about the tongue, but I think it's more the coordination between the wind power and the tongue. So that's why when you practice certain exercises, you're feeling how to work the two together, and you're listening. So as you're playing, you're feeling the blowing and your tongue, and you're hearing what you're wanting to come out of the trumpet and adjusting.
Yeah, for me it's the corners are also very important. When I play high, the corners are forward. It's not a matter of muscle. It's not a muscular thing, a brutal thing. It's control from the corners going in this direction forward. So it's a combination of compression of the air, turbulence, good settings of the lips. I play with closed lips, I don't leave holes into the lips or open lips. For me, lips are like a wall, complete wall. So air compression as turbulence, the embouchure completely closed, and corners. So the combination of these things give me a good control. But obviously, I cannot say. It depends if I have to play with, in the big band style or Maynard style, or if I have to play classical style or something less powerful. So I change. I'm very elastic in my way of playing. I don't have one way of playing and that's it. I'm very elastic. It depends on what I have to play. And oh, sorry. Okay. It depends on what I have to play, and I change my approach to the instrument.
So, do you have a practice routine that you go through kind of on a daily basis, or like a set of things you just kind of run through to keep yourself feeling good? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
And what are they?
I have. I may a few vibration buzzing with the lips alone without mouthpiece, then buzzing the mouthpiece with some easy stuff, very easy stuff, attacks, or some first without the tongue, then with the tongue, but very on pianissimo, until I have a good feeling of the vibration. Then the pedal tones, and the pedal tones, then the technical things like Clark, for example, or any other thing that can be technical. Then the bending, yeah, for me is so important. The bending is one of the best exercises I can do for myself, and so I also strongly teach to my students to practice on the bending, then flexibility, then tonguing, simple tonguing, double, simple, triple, and double. And that's it. And then I go to music and I play what I have to play in music. Obviously, now I'm 58. This has been the daily routine I've made for many years. Now is a little bit different. It depends on what I have to play, and I change my routine, focusing more on what I need for that concert or that concert. No, so very often I have to play very different things for concert in a row. I don't know, 10 concerts in a row, all different repertories, all different, and it depends on what I have to front with the trumpet, and I change my daily routine, in perspective, thinking about what I have to play on stage. I learned to be, during my life of trumpet player, fronting so many different things. I learned to be very flexible in my way of practicing and thinking the trumpet. I think that it's, for a certain point of view, it's kind of easier to, okay, I'm a screamer and I play always screaming. I am classical orchestral player, so I know what I need for this. I am a soloist in classical music or contemporary music or Baroque music, or and it's different. I think you focus something, and where you have to work. But when you have so many different things and different genres of music like I have, you must be flexible. You change equipment. You go from a very deep mouthpiece for playing, I don't know, something that requires in the classical music a deep mouthpiece, big orchestral sound, to the shallow mouthpiece to play Maynard or lead trumpet. And it's different. So that's why I am very, very flexible about
So
it.
do you work through any books like Walter Smith's Top Tones, or I don't know if you've gone through the Aaron Harris Advanced Studies or
Well, not
things
now,
things like
not
that?
now,
But I'm sure
not
in the
now,
past.
not now, because now when I practice, I practice everything by memory. I have some, how you work
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah,
and you know what you need, and you go on these things that you know that you can prepare good to the concerts if you proceed in a certain way. I was using it, yeah, and it was good. And as always, I advise also to the students to use these books, because I don't want my students to know only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 books. I tell them, I practice all the methods you can, because you learn something from every method, especially what comes from the past that it has been very clear that method was good. So practice it. And you learn the new things. Maybe it's a small thing that you learn, but it's anyway something new and something that can improve your level of trumpet player.
yeah. So what do you have coming up? So are you planning on, I know you're busy, are you planning on coming to the United States soon? I think you might be.
Yeah. I have many things coming, and many concerts here in Italy, and master classes, and I have to go also in some countries in Europe, and I have to go to Brazil in the next 2 months. And there's a huge trumpet festival, jazz trumpet festival there. And then I have to come back to United States at the beginning of the 2024, and I'm planning a small tour in some universities and trumpet festivals, and more things also I told you, in Europe. I thank God that I'm busy and things are good, and I feel to be a very lucky person to be able to be a musician and being busy and keeping alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Music keeps you alive in mind, in heart, in energies, in positive approach to life. I'm very thankful for being a musician. I will be forever thankful to my parents, because they never made obstacles to me when I told them that I wanted to be a professional musician. At today, sometimes, but not only today, also in the past, sometimes the families, when a kid was saying, "Oh, I want to be a musician," but no, it's better that you become a lawyer, or I don't know, I don't know, yeah, a business manager, or I want to say, or a soccer player. No, in Italy. No, it's bad. Try to become a soccer player. That it's good. Uh, uh, but my father and my mother were always very, very happy that I wanted to be a musician, because they love music, and they've been very proud and about what I did, and I will be forever thankful for what, because they supported me always. And I think that it has been so much easier to become a professional musician when your family pushes you, say, "Hey, go on." Yeah. Also, when I had that bad period, no, and I with the embouchure, they were pushing me. "No, you will fix it. Go on practicing, and you will fix it. You have to find the right people, and just do it, and you will fix it."
That's
And
cool.
so, yeah, that's important. That has
Yeah,
been very important,
that's
and that's what
awesome.
I do with students. I never I try to be always very positive, because very often students, they are young, so they fall in bad periods. Sometimes it's just a brain thing, maybe an audition that is not successful, and they start to think they are not good, or the other players are better than them, they will not be as good as the guy who has won the audition, and many things that, grows up like a heavy thing on your shoulder, no. And I try to be always positive, and I tell them my story, say, hey, I mean, you can go into a hell, but then you can get out of the hell and be better than before, and become a better player. So he never stop. And if music is your life, it's the thing you want to do in your life, you have to do it, because you feel good when your job or what you do in your life is something connected to something that you love, you really love, and you have a passion for it. Life is so much easier and beautiful, so much more beautiful.
Right. No, that's exciting. Well, I'll have to get a link to your schedule, and I'm going to post this on YouTube, and I will put a link to it down in the comments, so people can click on it and see where your next schedule is.
Yeah. There is my website, my website, that is www.andreatofanelli.it, because Italy, it and you find every concert, clinic, masterclass, and everything. Yeah,
that'd be great. Well, I hope to see you in person. It's been 2019, but let's meet in person and hang out.
Yeah. We know each other. We are longtime friends. Yeah,
I know. I mean, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I think I just put my website up, and you wrote me because I'd posted all this free audio of Claude Gordon doing lectures. And I was like, I know who you are, because I'd heard you on this old website called Trumpet Stuff, where someone had posted some of your playing. And I used to go to that website all the time and listen to recordings of you or Bud Brisbois or Maynard or whatever. And I don't know whatever happened to that website, but it was filled with lots of neat things to listen to.
Yeah. For what I could remember the last time that I was in touch with a guy who built that website. It was famous. That page was famous all around the world about trumpet players. No, I mean, all trumpet players knew that website. Then he got it was hacked, and in the same time the hard disk where there was where he saved all the website got crashed, because there was something about weather going. I mean, in 1 second he found everything destroyed. Everything destroyed. Hacker the website, and the backup of the website was he lost everything because of a problem in his house, for what I could remember. And oh my gosh, he had some incredible videos that today they are no more on YouTube. Incredible. Some of those videos were only on his website. Then everything got lost.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Is that guy still alive?
The guy? I think so. I
wonder what his name is.
Well, I can investigate about that. I mean,
there's now, depending on if it got captured or not, there's ways on the internet now where there's a website called archive.org, and it will actually capture screenshots of your website in history, so I could look at my own website from back in 2004 and see what it looked like, or
That's a
I'd
good.
be able to go to Trumpet stuff and see it. I don't know if you can get everything off it, but you might be able to get some of it, you know?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we keep in touch about
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Yeah. And it was great talking with you. And I'll trim off the beginning and end of this and post it on YouTube really soon. I look forward to seeing you in person.
I hope it's important to understand that trumpet players are a huge community, around the world. We don't have to fight. We don't have to be like, he plays better than me. No. Wow, he plays better than me. I want to learn. No. So communication and friendship and trying to help each other. And it's a huge tradition playing the trumpet, both classical and jazz, and in the commercial music also. There is a huge tradition, and trumpet players, the job of a trumpet player is very difficult, and it has been always very difficult through the centuries. So it's good to feel that there is a community where you can share your problems or good things, and share and grow up all together. Then obviously music make the difference, not the trumpet. If someone is better, plays better, it's good. It's obviously correct, right? That he win an audition, or he gets an important position into an orchestra, or he becomes an important soloist. Doesn't matter in which genres of music. We don't have to be envious. We have to be happy that our movement, our community grows up, and trumpet can be always something that keeps us all together in something that is so beautiful, like making music.
Yeah. Well, that I completely agree. That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. That's a good way to end it. And I'm hoping that this encourages a lot of people, and I know that it's been fun for me. I'm sure it's going to be fun to other people to listen to too.
And
Yeah.
it's fun for me too.
Yeah. Well, you have a great rest of the day, and I know we'll be talking again soon.
Okay, bye-bye, Jeff.
Bye,
Love from
Andrea.
Italy. Bye-bye to
Yeah.
everybody. Bye-bye, Jeff.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.